Hello, mate. How you going? So this week is part 2 of my interview with Jamila Musayeva, and she is an etiquette expert from Azerbaijan. And the interview that I had with her was so good, with so many different points that you got to listen to. That I split her interview up into 2 parts. Last week was part 1. So if you haven't had a chance, you can go back and have a listen to that. So that is episode number 87, and go through and have a listen to the part that modern etiquette plays in weddings now, the rules and who organises and pays for wedding events. And then come back, because today we're going to go deep into some of the juiciest and most controversial, if you like, parts of wedding planning, as in how you ask for cash from your guests instead of gifts. Plus, what to do if you've invited someone to, let's say, your engagement party, and then something happens and you don't want to invite them to your wedding anymore. I can't wait to share her answers with you. Let's get stuck into it. Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille, and welcome to the Unbridely podcast. Okay, so we've worked out who's paying for things, who's organising things, and you've actually said straight out, Jamila, that talking about money can be a really difficult conversation to have. And so with many engaged couples now living together before they get married, or quite simply couples being older when they decide to get married, a lot of people are getting an education before they go and get married. And so they have many of the things that would be traditionally gifted, for your home, to set up your home together. And so what is the etiquette with asking for cash rather than gifts for your wedding?
To be honest, so I'm coming from a country where cash is an expected gift for the wedding. We don't give gifts in my culture. We give cash at the wedding. And actually, at the wedding venue, there are 2 different boxes. One is written bride's side and the other is groom's side. So if you're from the bride side of the family, you would approach the box from the bride side. It's written like the bride's family, and there are envelopes stacked on top. You would take the envelope, put the cash in, write your name, cover it, put it into the box. So at the end of the wedding, the groom's or the bride's family will collect the money separately. So if they have split the bill for the wedding, they'll use that money to cover the wedding. Or maybe if it's the groom's family that pays everything, and then there will be only, sometimes there are no boxes for the bride then if the financial costs were covered by the groom, but then still bride's family members or side of the guests will come in and bring cash to her parents. This is just a way for people to start family, to cover the financial costs for the wedding, maybe honeymoon that they've planned, maybe they are renovating a home, maybe they wanted to get a car. So it's really a way to chip in so that they can get something fundamental, something substantial for starting life. And in my culture, there is nothing wrong with gifting money for such an event. Now, going back to US, where cash is considered a no gift for the wedding. It's again, I'm telling you that with the etiquette, it's just because cultures are different. There is no right and wrong. It's just something is acceptable in one culture and not acceptable in the other. But lately, I've seen a lot of trend among young people where they're asking their friends, so immediate friends and colleagues and people they can feel comfortable with, asking for cash instead of a gift. And that is if you feel comfortable enough to talk about it. Inquiring that someone makes a cash contribution that is not super close to you might be not polite, because maybe they're thinking of something smaller than the cash you are, requiring. In that case, I think the best way in the US culture, it would be if you have a wedding registry, you could have a section with all different kinds of gifts that you would like to have for your wedding. And also maybe do like this cash donations, or maybe, this cards where a person, instead of choosing a gift, they can decide to give you cash. So giving your guests options would be considerate and respectful instead of making them give you cash, if this is something that is not acceptable in your culture.
Yeah, I have to agree because it's quite similar here in Australia. I think we've sort of moved a bit past the gift registry now, but it was very traditional, and it was considered rude to expect money for your wedding. And now we've evolved. I want to say the last 20, maybe 30 years. It's a similar situation to Azerbaijan in that we have what's called a wishing well. We don't have separate ones for the two people getting married, but we have just the one. And you maybe give them a card, and you would have the cash in the card, and you put it inside the wishing well, generally when you enter the reception. And
Mm,
that money is then theirs to use for whatever, it might be. But there's also a bit of an evolution on online registries, as you
yes.
said, which can give people the option. And sometimes it's popular to, pay for honeymoons now, and to
Yes.
ask for certain things, which is, yeah, it just respects everyone's needs, the different generations especially.
And I also think like nowadays there's so many things you can choose from. Everything is super available. Back in the days when everything was super scarce and rare, finding a gift, scouting for something and finding it for the family would be taking into account, you found the beautiful vase that you want to give to them. Nowadays, I think we have so many things around us. So finding or buying a vase is just a matter of money. So giving the young people the option of choosing the vase they want to have at home rather than bringing them the vase that might not match their decoration at home, might not be their style or size for suitable for their home, will just make your gift impractical. And
Mm,
they will not be able to enjoy it, they will not be able to use it, they'll not be able to return it or get something instead. But sometimes the way I would approach this and the way I often tell to my students as well when it comes to wedding etiquette, as a host, the best gift you can expect from people is them showing up, being
mm,
present, having fun, and making your wedding incredible and fun and exciting. Because it's not just about the kind of a party you throw, but it's the way the party is being consumed by or entertained. It's the audience that makes it fun and makes it memorable for you. Because if they're not
yes.
having fun, it's very difficult for you to just have fun. So the best gift could be their time, energy, and effort. But at the same time, I think from a guest perspective, when I'm bringing a gift, I want to be as considerate as possible. I want to make sure that my gift is either used, so it's practical, or it has some kind of a sentimental value. You
Mm,
know, I would go above and beyond. If I can't find something that they need, and if I can't give cash, I'll opt for something that could have a sentimental value to the couple. Maybe I know, their shared activity that they love to do together. Maybe something that I know about them that I can give to them that will bring sort of a sentimental, not necessarily a value in terms of its practicality and price
mm.
tag. So how worthy a price in terms of its cost value, but rather this intrinsic value that it could have on people that are seeing that or using it. So sentimental gifts are also good.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, what it means to them. That's
Mm,
great. Okay, I've saved the most difficult question for last, Jamila,
mm,
because this is probably one of the biggest etiquette conundrums that I get asked the most frequently. And that is around in our culture here in Australia, there is quite frequently a really long engagement of, 12 months to 18 months where you might be sending someone an invitation or a save the date at the very least, up to a year before your actual wedding. And a lot of people ask me if I invite someone or if I invite someone to my engagement party, but then don't want to invite them to my wedding, or if I've sent them a save the date and
mm.
then don't want to invite them to my wedding, what do I do and what's the etiquette around that?
Wow, this is oh my God. So the rule is, and the reason it's a rule is because there's a human psychological part to it, or there's a humane side to this rule. And etiquette, actually, all the rules that come with etiquette can be explained either through history, through culture, through religion, or through personal just behavior. The people that you invite to your engagement party, which is a small one, or a bridal shower, which is usually a super small one, and you only invite those that you consider close and dear to you, that have shortlisted to this major event in your life. And then not inviting them to the wedding is already insulting the people as to what went wrong at your engagement. What did I do wrong? Why was I not, part of this? Because weddings are usually bigger than the engagement party. So your wedding list should consist of everyone who was in an engagement plus everyone else. So it's, if you think about it, of two circles, it's like a smaller circle, like all the engagement people, and then the larger circle is the wedding, and that is, all the extra people. If for some reason you invited someone to your engagement but don't want them to be at your wedding, you could tell them, but I would do it way ahead, not after the engagement, because then their assumption is that if I made it to engagement party, I'll make it definitely to the wedding. Yes. So the way I would communicate it is I would say, hey, listen, like, you're such an important person in my life. I really want you to be part of my engagement party because it's for the closest people in my family. It's the closest people in my life. And so I would love you to be there. But the wedding, the list is going to be made mostly by the groom's side of the family. Majority of the guests are from their guest list. So we will not be able to invite most of my friends for the wedding. So that is why I want you to be at the engagement, because unfortunately I will not be able to invite you to the wedding.
If you had a sweary, chocolate-addicted, wine-sipping fairy godmother who could help you with your wedding planning, what would you wish for? Perhaps no more waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering what you've forgotten, or fretting about your RSVPs. Maybe no more spreadsheets or post-it notes or endless to-do lists. Well, I can help you with all of that. Wedsites is an Australian wedding website builder, guest management software, and wedding project planner all in one. Why is this such a game changer for you? Well, imagine everything to do with your wedding being in one place, updated in real time in the cloud, shareable to anyone else that's helping you, password protected for your guests, with notifications to tell you what needs to be done next and by when. It's amazing, right? I love how easy Wedsites is to set up and use, and how there are no ads on the platform yelling at you to spend more money on your wedding. To get started on your very own free wedding website, just head to wedsites.com. That's WEDSITES.com, and enter the code UNbridelyPod, that's Unbridely POD, to get 10% off their paid planning tools. The link is in the show notes.
So I will make it clear so that the person will make it personal as to what went wrong with me, and I didn't make it to the list of the wedding. And it has happened, actually. So again, in my part of the world, because weddings are mostly covered by groom, the bride actually gets less amount of people to invite because she's basically having this party for free. So say if you have 100 guests, 80 guests will be from groom and 20 will be from the bride. So say I have only 20 people to invite, and if I only invite my immediate family, that will be 20 people. So I might not have any room to invite my friends, that I studied with. So then I would invite them to the engagement because I'm handling the party. I'm the host of the party. So I'll say, hey, listen, please come to my engagement because unfortunately I won't be able to invite you to the wedding because it's the groom's family that gets most majority guests in.
That makes sense. And less hurt feelings, you're completely explaining and ahead of time what the situation is and to not feel left out. Here in Australia, it's a little bit different. It's frequently we have large engagement parties. We invite everyone that we've ever come across, ever, everyone we've gone to school with, university, every sporting team we've ever played in, and they all come to the engagement because generally for us an engagement party is quite casual. It's generally not a super formal affair. It's an exceptional engagement party if it is. And so then we find that weddings are smaller and weddings are generally more expensive, more formal. And that's when sometimes, the guest list gets cut down and, sometimes people don't fit. But I'm guessing it's exactly the same conversation, really. It's the same story.
And that could be true, but you would let the person know that I'm having a big engagement party, but the wedding is only going to be for the closest family members only. So that's why I would love to see you at my engagement, because unfortunately, due to the limit and space limits, guest limit, I will not be able to invite you. But it's good to tell the person way ahead so they're not taking it personal. The only thing I think the reason we don't hold a lot of big engagement parties here, again, if it's also a financial burden on a bride's family, but also I think the reason we're not hosting a bigger engagement party here, so the weddings are usually bigger, is because there are more chances for the engagements to be broken off. And it's almost like you're saving your face, which often happens for the ring to be returned, for the engagement to be broken off. So then it's just the immediate family members that knew about this event. And so the wedding is a bigger one because it's now a statement that, I'm marrying.
Yes.
Which explains that way.
That makes sense. That makes complete sense. Whereas here in Australia, if you're engaged, you're almost as good as married.
Okay.
Like it's done. It's over. Yeah. And it's very rare for engagements to be broken off. That's really fascinating. What about, because I have had some people ask me, and I think I know your answer already, but let's say we've sent a save the date to a friend or a work colleague. And then during the time between sending the save the date and the invitation for the wedding, you've had a falling out or they're not as close to you as they were initially. What does the couple do then?
Well, I would say what I would do depends if I'm having a big wedding. If it's 100+ people, it won't hurt to have that person over with one diluted among the rest of the guests, because I don't know what the relationship is going to unfold like from this time onwards. So once you've crossed the river, you kind of have to walk the road. But if it's a small one, if it's like 50 people only, and you no longer want to see that person in this super intimate event, you could say, due to financial restraints, we have opted to make a smaller wedding just for the family. So unfortunately, I will not be able to extend this invitation to you anymore because of the limitation that we have. Always give a small due to. Always, if you are going to make an excuse, you don't have to explain yourself in paragraphs. You could just write due to, and in short 3 words or 4 words, why? Because if you just say, I'm sorry, I can't, it doesn't feel valid. It doesn't feel honest. But if you say due to, it immediately makes a person feel like it's a valid reason. But you don't have to really elaborate the reason. You could say due to financial restraints on the family, we will have to limit the guest list, and hence I won't be able to extend an invitation to you anymore. But hopefully we can catch up after the wedding, and just leave it like that.
Because that's good etiquette.
Yeah.
I would imagine if you don't do that, you can safely assume that you will never have a relationship with that person ever again. Would that be fair?
I do believe that it's not nice to burn bridges. If you've left the job and you don't no longer are going to see this colleague, if you were, you left the company, you're no longer going to see your boss. You never know what will happen in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, and these things will never be forgotten by the person. It's something that it's like, oh, you no longer needed me, and hence I didn't make it to your wedding list.
Yes.
So even if you come back to me in 5 years' time, I'll remember that and tell you that. So inviting someone to your wedding or disinviting someone to your wedding can be a huge deal, a huge obstacle in a relationship to form, or a huge benefit in a relationship to form. So you don't want to burn bridges by just being like, no, you're no longer invited to my wedding. That's it. So I always want to say, whatever you do, leave a space. So if you need ever, life turns out differently, you might need to have to talk to this person again.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Don't burn your bridges, people. That's Jamila's core message here. This is what we're doing. We're extending olive branches. Yes, Beautiful. And so, Jamila, is there any other advice that you would like to pass on to these engaged couples around etiquette?
Around etiquette, I think my general advice would be to familiarize yourself with just the general etiquette rules of inviting, again, sending invitations, RSVP cards, as well as, do I want an open bar? Do I want, a cash bar? Like all the things that you would want to think through to avoid any kind of mishaps and faux pas. And then once you know all these sort of books, you can just work by them and then not stress out about how things will go about. So my advice to young couples getting engaged and getting married is that this is just, I know it's a big event in life. I know it's a big thing in life, but just remember that it's only a day in your life. And there's so many more important things in your life that's going to happen apart from your wedding day. And so stressing about it, fighting over it, having unnecessary expenses and all of that, you will see it in retrospect that it didn't really matter. And so focus on creating good memories, enjoying the moment, enjoying the process, have a good laugh about things that didn't go well or mishaps you had while preparing, because these are the things that you'll remember more than the actual wedding day. And I want you to understand that life has more to offer than just the wedding day.
Love it, Jamila. Thank you so, so much. It's absolutely true. And in fact, that sort of sentiment is exactly what Unbridely is about, is really breaking it down and just understanding it is one day and an entire marriage is coming down the track. So, yeah, don't burn your bridges and, yeah, have a laugh about things. It's so important to put everything into perspective. Where can people find you, Jamila, and your books and everything?
So Camille, they can find me on my website, which is jamilamusayeva.com. My books are available for international shipment to Australia as well. So all my books are available for shipment worldwide. They can find my pre-recorded online courses. So one is the art of entertaining at home. The other is Western formal dining etiquette from A to Z. And then they can find me on YouTube, which is my biggest social media platform, with an eponymous channel, Jamila Musayeva. They can also find me on Instagram for my daily basis kind of lifestyle shares. Again, Jamila Musayeva. And they can also join my Patreon Etiquette Book and Movie Club. So in my book club, I publish summaries of the books and lessons I learned. And in the Etiquette Movie Club, I actually do etiquette analysis of different movies from, over 30 different movie analysis that I've done so far.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So all different kinds of movies and all the etiquette lessons that we can extract from them. So it's a very exclusive content that's only available on my Patreon.
So you're everywhere is the short answer. But I'll also put the links in the show notes. So make sure you just pop in there where the description about this podcast episode is, and you can just click on the link and go and follow Jamila. Thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure. And yeah, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Camille, so much for having me. I had an amazing time talking about things that I wanted to talk about. So thank you for listening, and thank you to your listeners for listening to this podcast as well.
That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.